So with all of the recent events surrounding Halloween Kills, with all of its rumors and potential spoilers on how the movie is going to conclude, it would almost now seemingly appear as though there have been many people that are now divided on the overall idea of what is about to take place, to where, a quick little reminder, this video may in fact actually contain massive spoilers for Halloween Ends. So if you potentially don't want to find out what happens if all of these spoilers and rumors end up being true, then simply go on ahead and click off of this video. That will be your only warning, as joining me right now to talk about the spoilers and information provided for Halloween Kills is my good friend and YouTuber Mark and I. Now Mark, there have been massive waves going around all throughout the internet giving us potential news and spoilers for Halloween Ends, and in case some of you guys are wondering what happens, apparently enough, it looks as though Laurie Strode's going to actually kill Michael Myers, and there apparently enough is going to be a follow-up killer, someone that kind of looks at Michael Myers as being someone that he can relate to in having a kindred spirit, and also kind of weirdly enough going as far as to relate to Michael, to say, okay, well, you've been outcasted, I've been outcasted, people look down on you, people look down on me, people want you dead, people want me dead. So Mark, given if all of the information provided is true, to where I want you guys to also, that are listening and watching this video, to let me know down in the comment section below how you guys potentially feel about Corey taking up the mantle, maybe if this movie proves to be successful enough for there to be a sequel, in seeing as to how Corey is going to become the next killer in taking Michael's place in now going after Allison, because of course it was Allison who had gone as far as to turn her back once she found out that he was using Michael Myers' outfit and his mask to kill people that had wronged him. So I wanted to ask you, Mark, if you agree with the overall idea of kind of sympathizing with Corey, only because you can kind of already see that certain people in life do have a breaking point, and for Corey, this was it. Even though the answer of murder is technically not the right one, do you think that this is best suited for the Halloween franchise in kind of passing the mantle along by giving us something new that many fans have been complaining about for so many years? Or do you think that maybe this is going to be a massive detriment if what we've seen and heard about ends up being true?
I don't really mind. I don't mind the ending like this. I'm not a purist when it comes to things like this. There's only a few franchises in general, in and out of the horror genre, that I feel like it needs to be done a certain way, whether I'm right or wrong. But with Halloween, I don't know. As we talked about before, if they weren't gonna make Michael supernatural, he needs to go away at some point. You can't just keep rebooting the franchise with the exact same storyline with some like very, very small, mundane, itty-bitty little nuance. Like it's just, I don't know. We've needed to move on for a very long time. And I mean, obviously we're talking about spoilers, so if you're listening to this / watching this, then you should know obviously that we're going to be talking about things that you probably don't want to hear. So before I jump into mentioning any specifics, just want to remind you, like, that's on you if you're still listening, because we're clearly going to spoil it. So I'm actually kind of proud. That's the first thing I feel like, is after we were talking about this, I feel really proud that, like, our last conversation, we were almost right on the money. Like, we were almost right on the money. We were right that there was more than one person, someone else doing the mask thing. Yeah, we talked about, like, the Cult of the Thorn and whatever, and that didn't work out, you know, fine. But we were right about it being more than one person, because it sort of had to be. And but we were a little bit, I think we were like, what, 7.5, 8 out of 10 right on that, because I thought that Laurie was going to be the one that died. Turns out that's not the case. She kills Michael. Corey gets knocked out of like a window or some nonsense, and he somehow survives after finding Michael and taking his place and causing some havoc across the city. But I think the thing with Corey is the reason why, like, he's a normal person in the sense that he is out for revenge. He hit his breaking point. And that doesn't justify his actions, because I feel like most people wouldn't do that. The kid is basically like a modern day school shooter, essentially. That's really what he is. He's just a modern day school shooter who happens to be in a universe where there's a massive serial killer with a knife who runs around slashing people. We know what motivates Corey, but we don't exactly know what motivated Michael. He's just a psychopath, and there's no rhyme or reason for what he did, and maybe they just leave that out because from an audience standpoint, you're never going to please anyone, you're never going to please everyone with a storyline that explains, like, Michael, or going too in depth, like, why he does what he does, his motivations, his reasons, or whatever. So I understand the standpoint from filmmaking that you just don't do that. But I can't say that I'm upset about them wanting to change things, because they said they wanted to do a sequel, understand, to this movie, to this storyline, taking place in the same universe. They wanted to continue on. And they made a very valid point that Halloween is a story of Michael and of Laurie. She's writing her memoirs. like Michael's officially dead. It's over now. So we kind of have to just move on, and we have to do sort of what we talked about, like not necessarily an anthology series, 'cause that's not what this is, but it's a different storyline involving different characters, and that needs to be fine. If as long as you maintain the spirit of what, you know, it means to be in Halloween, then that should be okay with fans. It doesn't have to necessarily be Michael Myers. So Corey potentially taking up the mantle, if this film makes a lot of money, and I think it will make a lot of money, shouldn't be a bad thing that turns people off. I know that it will. I know that I'm sort of speaking to an empty like void of people that are not interested in hearing that fact, because people are purists and they only want to see Michael in Halloween because he's the face of franchise, which I understand. But it's like, how many times do you want to see the same story told over and over and over again? It's one guy killing the same people in the same town. Like, it's too much. And so I think seeing that Michael actually is finally dead by the end of this and opening up potential for a whole new storyline is very interesting. And I think people should be a little bit more open-minded to that, because now we can go in different directions. Like, obviously we were speculating a ton in the last video where we talked about this, about what they were going to do with the potential of a future of the franchise. And there's no way for us to know until, well, obviously leaks came out. And now that they have, we were in, I take back what I said. We weren't like 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 correct, but we were on the right track. A different person. Michael is gone. I personally thought Laurie would have been killed if they wanted to move on with Michael, but I am sort of surprised that they're going in the direction of a killer that feels a kindred connection in Michael. Like that, I didn't see coming. I didn't think it was going to be someone who like felt bad for Michael or felt a relation to Michael. That seemed a little extreme, because the thing is like Corey seems to have been bullied for being kind of a dweeb or a dork or whatever, and then he goes on a killing rampage. Michael seemingly was a decent kid, and I guess, or maybe, you know, whatever, troubled kid, but he wasn't a killer until he was a killer, right? And then from there, that's when he was outcast. He was outcast for killing. So it seemed weird that Corey would be like, hey, you're a killer. Like, you're an outcast. I'm an outcast because I get picked on all the time. I should become a killer too. That's kind of a weird stretch of a connection, but okay, whatever. But I'm not upset at it. I'm not angry about it. I'm not disappointed in that bit. I think that's a very interesting way to take it. But I certainly think you need to have the right writing team to oversee the future of the franchise if they're going to pass the torch from Mike, or the knife, I guess, so to speak, from Michael to someone else. Plus, it also means that Corey's going to have to get like a whole new outfit, because if they did destroy the mask, then it doesn't exist anymore. Plus, if Corey lives and becomes a new killer, he definitely has to be like, he has to have his own identity. Like, there's so many little bits and pieces, but early test screenings show that they're pretty pissed off, fans and audiences, about this creative decision. I don't know. This is one of those things where I know I'm in the minority, and I doubt it's going to go over well with people. But at the same time, like, I implore people to reconsider their emotional connection to Michael Myers, because there's not a whole lot of opportunity for like character growth, story development, and progression in a franchise that focuses on one killer that kills the same people on the same night it's not interesting anymore.
See, what's interesting about this is the fact that there have been so many people saying that, no, I'm against this is going to be terrible, Halloween just simply can't be Halloween without Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, and you can't really have a movie without one of the other. And so you can kind of process as to what's being said and relate to that to suggest, okay, well, why do you watch Halloween? Some people watch it for Michael Myers, and of course other people watch for Laurie Strode to see what her journey is going to be like, right? So I wanted to ask you if you agree with the idea of what they might be doing with Corey's character if this ends up being true, in making him into, I guess you could say, the next Michael, even though I don't think that if they do, that Corey's going to take up the same mannerisms as Michael, meaning walking and not talking and kind of acting identical to him. I think that what they need to do, and again, this might be a little too far off if Corey ends up being the next main serial killer of these movies, what they need to do is make him different, but at the same time kind of reflect back to suggest that, okay, even though Michael Myers died, if he did, evil itself, the essence of evil, never truly died in Haddonfield, right? So when looking at all of this, are you against the idea of Corey becoming like this next killer if this ends up being the case? Or do you think that we're just too far gone and you can't really have Halloween without the conceptual idea of Michael Myers?
Fans will say no, but I'm going to say 100% yes. And there's a very simple explanation for that being the case. And it has to do with what you just said. We don't know Michael's motivations. It's just his relationship with Laurie is an outlier relationship. He's a psychopath, whatever. Michael is an idea. We rarely see his face, if that, even if you want to call it that. We barely see his face. He's a dude in a mask killing people. He doesn't speak. We don't know much about him other than what the audience sees, like, of him throughout the movies. Like, we don't know why he snapped. We don't know if he was born this way. We don't know if something happened to him. There's not really any history there. So there's no real personal connection anyone should have with Michael, because he's not meant to be a character that you can connect with like Corey would be, like you said. Corey can be reasoned with because he had a bad day. He was betrayed. Maybe you can come back from that. Maybe. But I think with Michael, it's just a dude in a mask. Like, it could be anyone. It doesn't really matter who the killer is. I think in franchises like Scream, it matters because there's a mystery about it, because you don't know who it is and you are trying to figure it out. With Jason, it's a little bit more personal, but also we know, like, his mom, we know that he's like a deadite, if you still consider that to be canon or not. And he's a supernatural being in an element. Michael is unique amongst all these because now, anyway, if you ignore all the retcon films, he's not a supernatural element. He's just a guy who's on a mission to kill. We don't know why. We have no idea what motivates him other than to kill for the sake of killing. And that's it. You don't hear him speak. He doesn't taunt anyone. He's just a brutal walking force with no supernatural element pushing him and motivating him to do whatever. He's just a silent killer whose face you barely see. And I think that means that you could very easily replace him with anyone or anything to continue on. I think the idea of people being attached to Michael Myers is one thing that they have to sort of let go if you want to have a new, fresh take and story that has some intrigue, because otherwise you're just going to be rehashing the same exact bits and pieces of film every single time they reboot the series. And I just don't think film goers really want that. They think they do, but they don't. And so being able to replace Michael with someone else, I think creates a whole new opportunity, especially because you know their motivations. You got to see them as an adult being like a normal human being under extremely abnormal circumstances. And then there's the betrayal. The motivation is all there. I do think that if they pursue a continuation with Corey, I think that he's probably going to obsess over Michael Myers and probably borrow a lot of what made Michael in order to kind of maintain the same sort of energy and like atmosphere in future films. And by that I mean, like, you hear Corey speak, right? Like, you know that he's a person, you know that he has feelings and emotions, you know where he came from, you know why he's become a killer, you know that his connection to Allison is a romantic one and he feels betrayed by her. So you totally understand, even though you don't agree with it, you understand why he is doing what he is doing. But I think his obsession with Michael and his connection and being a kindred spirit, he's going to borrow those elements where he's probably going to take a vow of silence. He's probably going to try to find a new outfit that might be uniquely his own, but still pays homage to Michael in aesthetic and style. I think that's probably what's going to happen in order to maintain, like I said, that sort of atmosphere. So that way people who come to the movie, it's like, okay, this is Corey, not Michael, but it's still the same. I still feel the same. I feel the same fear and worry about his potential victims or who he's after. I still feel afraid by this shapely presence with a blade that's trying to kill people. Like, the killings are still just as brutal. The story has intrigue now, though, because it's a fresh take. I think that stuff is what's important, and I think that's what needs to happen for the franchise to evolve and to move on. And I think that is something that people sort of just have to kind of accept if they want a franchise to still be fun and interesting. Otherwise, it's just the same shit over and over and over again, and we don't want that. You think you do, but you don't. So I'm good with it, and I think that's sort of the direction they can take it in order to make sure that they pay respect to what made Halloween in the first place. They've now created just some wiggle room so they can do some stuff with it, and I think that's pretty cool.
I think there's no doubt about the fact that so many people, including myself, including you, and even those that really don't like the franchise that Blumhouse had made, are going to go see this movie. They're excited. I mean, we're all excited just to kind of see how this goes. If, of course, this ends up being true, then, of course, movies are all subjective. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to just like it. Other people are going to be in between. Some people aren't going to like it, and then you're going to have others that are just simply going to hate it, right? So drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you guys agree with Corey taking up the mantle and being the next, I guess you could say, boogeyman, without becoming the shape himself, he could kind of slip and go down this road where he slowly begins to lose his humanity, because of course that is a very realistic situation for anyone to ultimately walk down a very dark path in just losing themselves along the way. So let us know what you guys think about the spoilers, about the rumors, about Corey, and the future of Halloween. Again, thank you all so much for watching, guys. Thank you all so very much for your time. If you guys enjoyed, then be sure to give this video a big fat thumbs up right now by smashing that like button. Also, if you just so happen to be new to the channel and of course love Halloween, then be sure to head on over and smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications by clicking on the bell icon. That way you guys never miss a single video that is posted on this channel. Tune back in for more, and we'll be seeing you all in the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Peace.